Luke, it's finally happened. Keir Starmer's done it. We've officially got Shrek 5.
You know what? I had my doubts about Labour, but what a success! What a great job Starmer's doing. Yeah, I mean, a Labour government and Shrek, in the cinemas, like, the 2000s are back. We'd love to see it.
Yeah, it's crazy that DreamWorks, in protest of the Conservative government, refused to release any Shrek movies for the whole time they were in charge. I just didn't realise that was such an important thing to them.
Yeah, no. Are you excited about Shrek 5, though?
Oh, God. Not exactly. I have a story that's too long and boring to say, but when I watched Shrek 4, I didn't even realise it was a movie. I remember watching Shrek 4 and I think it was just like a kind of one-off TV special thing. I was like, and about halfway through I was like, oh, wait a minute. I think this might actually be like a movie because I watched it on TV.
Was this because it was so bad?
Yeah. Or like, no, I don't know if it was terrible, but it just like, it didn't have like DreamWorks, they love to run their franchises into the ground by doing too many sequels.
What other 2000s thing should come back next?
Shark Tale.
Hey, Martin Scorsese, he's still alive, So.
Yeah, he owes it to us. Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past, we give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke, and this week we are celebrating the release of Deadpool 3, Deadpool and the Wolverine, by looking at Deadpool 2, having of course already looked at Deadpool before. Check it out. Anyway, Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Deadpool 2?
Yeah, the thing is, I think obviously this is going to be the biggest movie of the summer, Deadpool and Wolverine. So yeah, I think it makes sense for us to review Deadpool 2, which was not titled Deadpool and Cable, or Deadpool and what's the Russell Firefist or whatever?
Yeah.
Or Deadpool and Domino, or Deadpool and Juggernaut. No, it's just Deadpool 2.
It's like a kind of surprisingly uncreative name. Like, you'd think they tried to do something, I don't know. Like, because they love their meta jokes with the title sequence and stuff. You think they tried to do something meta with it?
No, they didn't bother. But yeah,
lazy.
I know, but they're not being lazy for Deadpool and Wolverine. So yeah, and we're going to predict what we think Deadpool and Wolverine are going to get what the movie is going to get on Rotten Tomatoes at the end of the review. So anyway, Michael, let's get into it. So Deadpool 2 is a 2018 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character Deadpool. Wow, it's the sequel to Deadpool 2016, and apparently it's the 11th installment in the X-Men film series.
Cool.
I don't know how true that is.
I could see that being true. There's been a few of them.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, yeah, we've already reviewed the first Deadpool movie, which was like 6 years ago, which is crazy. It was like one of our first reviews. And yeah, probably like the audio was awful. But yes. The question is, have our takes got better, or are our takes still as awful as they were back then? Because at least the audio... At least the audio has improved. Anyway, Michael, the movie was directed by David Leitch. It was written by Rhett Reese, Paul Wemmick, and Ryan Reynolds. It stars Ryan Reynolds, also produced by him, by the way. Josh Brolin is also starring with Marina Barakin. I hope I said that name right. Julia Dennison, Zazie Beetz, T.J. Miller, Brianna Hildebrand, and Jack Kesey. Or Kesey. I don't know. That's a weird surname, honestly. Yeah. But I'm sorry. It
Bloody
is.
Foreigners.
Well, he's American, so...
Okay, that's fine then.
Yeah, I mean, he's...
Well, they are foreign to us.
Exactly. Anyway, Michael, what was the... firstly, it was released on May the 18th, 2018 in the United States. So yeah, about 6 years ago. It's taken 6 years for a sequel, which is kind of weird. But I guess Ryan Reynolds wanted to do something with Hugh Jackman. I guess it took like 3 years for Ryan Reynolds to convince Hugh Jackman to do this movie, because of course, Logan was meant to be the last time he played Wolverine, isn't that right?
Yeah. So but they had to give him a big dump truck of money.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe that's what the convincing was. Anyway, Michael, what was the budget for Deadpool 2? And I'm going to apply that rule again, which is whatever your guess is, and I'm going to add 50% to it.
Okay.
So, again, don't factor that into your guess.
Okay, yeah. Now, they made a joke about the fact they didn't have a very high budget because, of course, he said that they couldn't get the X-Men in there. And as I recall, then indeed, there are in fact none of the famous X-Men who ever appear in the entire film at any point, even for a visual gag. So that must mean the budget's incredibly low. No, I think the budget would have been reasonable. I mean, obviously, like the first film made a lot of money. I'm going to go for 140 million.
Okay, so you're just getting really high now.
Well, you know what? So, like, it's possible. So, I will say this: I wouldn't be shocked to find out the movie had a quite low budget. But I was thinking,
well,
like,
you know what the first one was?
I don't know what the first one was.
It was 50.
Okay, 50.
Yeah,
well,
50 million. So you've got so the budget is 110 million.
Okay.
Yeah, but you've guessed way more than the first movie, of course, and still a lot more than this movie for the budget. So yeah, not an awful guess, really, but yeah, I'm not going to do the 50% thing. But what about the box office? Because, of course, the first movie, Deadpool, was the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. And we talked about that. It was incredible how it managed to be the highest grossing. Of course, there's a joke in the movie about it being the highest R-rated grossing movie of all time. So what do you think Deadpool 2 managed to rake in at the box office?
Well, I can't remember the exact number that the original Deadpool got. If you like to, you could communicate that information to me to help me out.
I will do that.
Yes. Now, because I will say right out of the gate, I do not think this movie made as much.
So,
because I feel like Deadpool 1 was a phenomenon.
Well,
I don't think this movie was as much of one.
Why not?
I don't know, like, I just don't, like, I feel like there was a big excitement about, like, the whole kind of, the marketing around Deadpool, the original, and just the fact that, like, they had to, like, leak the footage and all that kind of stuff, and it was, like, an obligation to go see it, whereas by the time the second one had come out, you know, like they said in the movie, Wolverine, Logan, they've already done the whole R-rated movies thing more than once at this point. So I just feel like there wouldn't have been as much hype. But I could be wrong, but no matter what, I'm going to guess lower than the amount that the first one got. So if you tell me what that is.
Okay. Well, the first movie had a box office of 782 million.
Yeah, I'm quite comfortable saying that I think this movie got less than that. I almost wouldn't be surprised to hear it got significantly less than that, but I'm gonna assume that what wouldn't surprise me is probably not true and say it still made about 600 million.
Okay, so Deadpool 2 became the 9th highest grossing film of 2018 and the highest grossing film in the X-Men series and the highest grossing R-rated film at the time, because it got 3 million more than Deadpool 1.
Oh, that's quite funny, actually. It just got 3 million more.
Yeah, it got 785 million. Or 786 if we round up. Yeah, so there you go. About 4 million more than the first Deadpool. So you were wrong, Michael.
I'm fine with that.
Ticket prices could have been increased in the 2 years, so less people could have actually gone to see it.
Fewer people.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Shut up. when of course the box office takings are that close, you have to factor, like ticket prices into the equation. But anyway, Michael. First, before I ask you, did you like Deadpool 2? Can I ask you what version of this movie did you see?
Oh, okay, so there's different versions. Now, what is the significance of these different versions? Because I don't know which version I watched. I watched a version that existed.
So, I unfortunately watched the PG-13 rated version of the film.
Oh, I see, okay.
Titled Once Upon a Deadpool. And I couldn't find the non-PG-13 rated version of the movie. So, in my version of the movie, Deadpool, throughout the movie, is reading like a book, which is, of course, is what the book contains the events of the movie, and he's reading it to Fred Savage, and basically, it's kind of funny because Fred Savage was a kid on TV.
Yes,
back in the
day.
He
was in the Wonder Years, I believe I'm right in saying.
Yeah, but now he's dressed up as a man. Well, sorry, he is a man, but he's in this bedroom as a kid. Well, dressed up as a kid. And like Deadpool has kidnapped him basically to read the story of what happens. I could tell. A big complaint about this movie from me was, this isn't cut together very well because it's a PG-13 cut for an R-rated movie. So there was some frustration watching this movie, and I thought you may experience the same thing because maybe you watched it. You had the same experience. Taking this movie.
There could have been some camaraderie.
Yeah, from a very legal website. And they all have the same versions, but. Yeah, I couldn't find the R-rated version, and I was like, okay, this will do, just without any like explicit like nature to the jokes or whatever. Okay, you watched the actual
Yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah, so you didn't have Fred Savage in oh, you missed out big time.
No. Yeah, looking it up, I'm pretty sure that Fred Savage thing, I feel like it's a reference to, like, I know this wouldn't be shocking because there are references. I feel like it's a reference to a movie.
Wait. There's a reference in a Deadpool movie.
I know, but I'm just looking because, like, I've got the scene of, like, him, like, sat by, and I swear, I just can't think what it is. I swear there's, like, quite a famous movie where it's like an old man, it's like a granddad, and he's reading a book to a kid. It's almost like The Notebook. Like, it's not The Notebook, but it's like a similar thing, and it's an old man. I think the old man is reading the story of, like, how he met the kid's grandmother. So it's like a romantic movie.
But it's clever in the fact that it's like, oh yeah, this guy is a man in like in a kid's bedroom, just like the movie, of course, Deadpool 2 is an adult movie, but it's been like watered down, so it's now a kid's movie, just like, you know, Fred Savage. You know, you get the symbolism there.
Yes, yeah, I do get it. Yes, it makes sense.
So it's a nice link. But yeah, but again, it's it made the whole, you know, thing was frustrating to watch at times. But anyway, tell me, Michael, did you like the R-rated version of Deadpool 2?
Okay, so I thought that this movie was kind of a movie of two halves, if you will, because at the beginning, like, I will say, Ryan Reynolds, he's one of those guys, I don't know if this is just me, but I feel like in the cultural zeitgeist, he's kind of outstayed his welcome. I recently watched, for my own reasons, it was either Fast X or Hobbs and Shaw, and Ryan Reynolds appears in it, and when he appeared, I audibly groaned. I went, ugh. Because he was doing his whole Ryan Reynolds thing, like, just not taking it seriously and, like, whatever, being that. And that, I found that kind of grating, and I didn't laugh. I don't think I laughed once. I mean, I don't laugh usually in my room on my own, but even have the inclination to laugh for the first half.
That's a good
But
point.
then I know, yeah, thank you. But then I did think as it got on, it got a bit more exciting. I don't know if it's just a case of I got into it or if there was some improvement, but I'll be able to tell you pretty much the exact point where I started to enjoy it.
Okay.
Overall, I would definitely say I liked the movie. I don't think it was as good as the original Deadpool, and, you know, it kind of got a bit tedious at some points with just how much it was.
Well, here's the thing. I have a different experience watching the PG-13 version, and yeah, I'm actually looking at on Wikipedia. I didn't see this before, so apparently Savage was picked because it was a parody of The Princess Bride.
Yeah, you know what? So I just looked that up too, and I was like, yeah, because I was like thinking about what it was, and yes,
yeah. So yeah, basically, yeah, it was a worse version, and it was apparently a version which was for children who were unable to watch the R-rated release, as it's subversive enough and fun and creative and something that only Deadpool could do. This is
I do like the idea of you just like having to watch the like little baby version of the movie. It's like, I don't know, like it's like your parents like still force you to use like training wheels, like you're saying it like you couldn't find it, but actually it's like you've got like, I don't know, very overprotective parents.
I wanted to watch this movie.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand the R-rated version. So yeah. I was disappointed really because the film, honestly, just from a practical, is that the right word? I don't know. It's like just as a movie, it was poorly cut.
Technical. That's, I think, the word you're looking for.
Is that what I'm looking for? Technical.
Yeah, like from a technical level, it was poorly cut.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and you could see the lines were dubbed, and sometimes that's fine because Deadpool has a mask on, and so it's like, oh yeah, you can just make up whatever he's saying. You can remove all the fucks and everything, so that's good. But yeah, there was times where I'm like, I'm pretty sure this scene has been like cut in half, and like the exposition didn't work, and they were just, you know, I'm like, wait, this doesn't feel like a finished movie, and so yeah, it was frustrating, and I don't really know if it should have been made because it was damn it, you know what, I wish I had seen the R-rated, because you watched it and you're like, it's okay, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this was quite bad. So yeah, I mean, it got like I think 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh no, it didn't. I'm sorry. It got 57% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I think Deadpool 2 got like 82. So you can see there's probably quite a significant drop in quality.
Yeah. I mean, I'm quite excited to hear like, you know, it's going to be exciting for me and probably exciting for you to engage with like where we've got different accounts of what happened.
Well, the plot's the same. It's just I'm going to say this scene was weird because it was cut weird. And you're going to say, no, it wasn't.
Yeah, this will be good. This will be very productive.
Yeah, okay. So how many nitpicks do you have?
I don't have... Oh, wait, no, I have one.
Okay, you go first. Because I have 0.
Yeah, because I was going to say this is like the kind of movie where you'd think you shouldn't like be able to nitpick it. But I just thought there's one thing, because I was straining against that impulse to just not nitpick anything because it's a silly movie. When Deadpool's collar gets knocked off in the prison fight, which obviously allows him to regenerate, I assume, see, at this point, I don't know whether or not there's anything that I'm talking about in terms of what I'm talking about. But then, like, later on, they establish that this collar is actually quite difficult to get off. And that just confirms to me that that's incredibly contrived. And they don't even, like, lampshade it or, like, make some kind of meta joke about it, as far as I know. Like, it's not seen like, oh, that's convenient. So, yeah, like, obviously, because the collars stop him from regenerating, if it hadn't gotten knocked off, he would die. So it's very convenient that it did get knocked off. Yeah,
I'm going to talk about the collar later.
Good.
So yeah, because it's more than a nitpick for me. So yeah, let's get into the plot. So, foul-mouthed mutant mercenary Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool, assembles a team of fellow mutant rogues to protect a young boy with supernatural abilities from the brutal time-traveling cyborg Cable. So there's this kid, and they're trying to protect him. Deadpool, kind of, it's weird. Like, again, this could just be because stuff was cut, but Deadpool, from my point of view, it's weird because he like wants to save this kid. He really does. Then he's like, "Nah, I don't care about this kid." He says that to Cable, even though he's been trying to save him.
Yes.
And then he's like, then he meets his wife in the afterlife. He's like, "Oh, do I need to save this kid?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, his wife's, saying, "Yeah, you should." And then he's like, "Right, I now have to save the kid," and that's what he does.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you that I think that was kind of poorly, the motivation there in terms of like any change in it doesn't really make much sense to me. Because yeah, it didn't seem like he really strongly disliked the kid initially, and then like suddenly the big crux is that he did, but then it kind of seems like it's maybe just a misunderstanding where like, because I like my interpretation when I originally saw it was like, oh, he's saying to Cable that he doesn't care about the kid, kind of just like a power play, because obviously if you're like confronting, you don't want to show any weakness and stuff like that. So I was thinking, is this just like a dumb misunderstanding? But then it does seem like it's serious. But then obviously, yeah, like you say, yeah, I would agree with what you're saying there about how it didn't really make much sense.
Yeah. So the director, Leach or Lech, however you say it, probably not Leach actually. That's yeah. He said, retaining the personal stakes was compelling for audiences rather than trying to build the film around global stakes. So again, the comparison, and I'm going to talk about this in a bit, was made to like other sequels which try to go bigger. He's got to save the world. Well, not really. In this movie, he doesn't have to save the world, does he? He just has to stop save the kid's life, stop him from becoming a serial killer. I guess save the kid in more ways than one.
It's what's the word? Relatable.
Yeah, relatable. And I like that the stakes were kept low compared to like, oh, we got to save the world. And it seems like Deadpool and Wolverine will be going down that path of like, we got to save the world. I guess because it is like Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah, it is
literally bigger.
It is bigger. You do have Hugh Jackman. He's part of the Marvel universe, of course.
And he is a huge jacked man.
He is. So yeah, but I like the fact, it's a sequel, but we don't need to be like, oh, Deadpool has to save the world, But at the same time, the other thing that Leach said was the personal stakes were, compelling for audiences, and I don't know if the personal stakes were compelling, honestly, because I was just thinking, well, I don't really know what his character arc is here, Deadpool, to be honest with you. Because his wife dies, he's sad about it. So, Colossus is like, no, come be an X-Men. And so he does, and then, he tries to, I guess he learns that killing is wrong. Like, taking your fury out or taking your anger out on somebody is wrong. That's the wrong thing to do. And you should have more heart, I guess.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm not sure really how he learns that lesson, So that's why I'm like, the character, it makes sense as a lesson, from where he is at the start of the movie to where he is at the end. But why does he learn that lesson?
Yeah, I would agree that is like something that's absent from the movie. I will say, like, I personally wasn't that concerned about the absence of personal stakes, because I guess like for me the two things I was slightly more concerned about were how like entertaining was the film in terms of the action, and obviously how funny was the film. Not to say that having stakes wouldn't be worthwhile if it was there. But yeah, I definitely agree. There really wasn't a sense of watching Deadpool evolve as a character.
Yeah, so producer Simon Kinberg said of the movie, it had to be tonally and stylistically fresh as the original. And so that's what fresh means. Like, it can't be as fresh as the original because it is a sequel. And he said that's a big challenge because they had 10 years to gestate on the first movie. I think he's talking about like Ryan Reynolds, and we don't have that kind of time on the second movie. They had 2 years, of course, and yeah, that's the biggest mandate for the sequel. We have to resist the temptation to make it bigger, which they sort of did. Again, I think the first movie was better, just again because it was kind of we talked about it. If you remember in the review, it was like, oh yeah, this movie is so different to other superhero movies, and that was of course its main selling point, right? So you watch this one, it's like it's kind of hard to feel the same way when the first movie relied so much on how unique it was. Well, we've already seen a version of this movie because it's Deadpool 1. So yeah. What do you think about that?
No, yeah, absolutely. I would 100% agree that is a quite fundamental problem with this film. The fact that one of the main selling points of Deadpool 1, the original, was that it was so unique, and also that it was like an event. Because one of the things is in this movie they have like a few references to, I think they only do it really at the beginning, but about the idea of being sat in the cinema, like being sat in the movie theater watching it. I can't really think what the exact line is, but there is like a line that implies something about like you've come out here. Something I think it's like about when he's like, this is a family film and you're with your kids, and it's like as if he's talking to the movie theater, which worked in the first one because like loads of people. Well, again, I know loads of people went to see this, but there was a sense of like a big hype about going to see the movie, so I can understand it. Whereas here, I was like, there's just not the same hype for me. Like, I just didn't really care as much about the idea of this film, like I say, as an event. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you of course went to see this in the cinemas. The original Deadpool.
Yes.
And you hardly ever do that, do you?
No, yeah, I'm a real shut-in, as they say.
So, by the way, I don't know if you know this. So, do you know the original director for the first Deadpool?
Oh God, is it Miller? George Miller? Yeah.
Not George Miller. That's the Mad Max guy.
Oh yeah. Sorry, it's a different Miller, isn't it?
Yeah. We're gonna direct a Deadpool movie. Yeah, it's gonna be sick. No, it's Tim Miller. So in October 2016, he actually left the Deadpool 2 over mutual creative differences with Reynolds, based on several factors, including Reynolds' expanded creative control over the sequel, and Miller's wish for a more stylized follow-up than the first film was rejected because Reynolds wanted to focus on the raunchy comedy style that earned the first movie its R rating, which is interesting. So Miller's like, I don't want to do this immature bullshit anymore. I want to make a proper, movie. And
what
Reynolds,
a nerd.
Reynolds is like, no way, this is my ticket to the big time. We're not making a fucking stupid artsy Deadpool movie. No way. No, we're making something that, again, is going to allow me to show off my comedic chops. What a funny, hilarious, random, quirky guy I am, in these Deadpool movies. And yeah, this movie, like the first one, is basically a vehicle for Ryan Reynolds just to show off. So yeah, it makes sense that he was like, no, let's keep. The first movie was obviously massive for him. We don't want to ruin that, do we? And again, now he's getting. He's gonna, release a movie with Hugh Jackman, which is gonna gross over $1 billion. You'd think, right?
Yes, I can imagine. And also, I mean, so in my head, maybe I'm wrong about this. There wasn't that much of a gap between Deadpool 2 and Deadpool 1, whereas there's obviously much more of a gap here. Well, so that will make it more exciting. In time. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I just remember them being quite one followed off the other.
You know when this movie came out?
I don't actually remember when this movie came out. 2019 would be my guess.
Well, again, I said we reviewed the first Deadpool 6 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so 2018?
Yeah, and I think I said 2018 as well, but whatever.
You probably did.
And when did the first movie come out?
The first movie came out in 2016, so yeah, not a big gap.
Yeah, only 2 years. So yeah, again, you don't want to stop the gravy train. So a PG-13 rated version of the film called Once Upon a Deadpool, of course, which is what I was watching, was released in December 2018. You can't pinpoint exactly what should be happening, but it's like, this doesn't feel like, again, a smooth movie. But I have to judge the movie on how I saw it, right?
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Again, the concept of him reading to Fred Savage works, but yeah, it's just everything. Well, how long was your movie, by the way?
My movie was 2 hours, 13 minutes.
Yeah, mine was 1 hour, 57.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So they cut quite a lot, And again, I imagine quite a lot of what they cut were just scenes where Deadpool was like swearing.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, I need to know this right now. Did they have the scene of him with the baby penis?
Yeah.
Where he gets ripped in half.
Yeah.
Okay, so they did. Okay,
You didn't actually see the baby penis though.
yeah. Okay, so there's I to be honest, like I'm not going to pretend on the completely legitimate website I was watching it on. I don't know if I had the highest resolution, but they have a bit of a Sharon Stone moment from Basic Instinct, where I'm pretty sure you should be able to see his baby penis. Well, you do see his baby butt, because you see his baby butt in this version.
No, you don't.
Okay, that's unfortunate. You really missed out. That was what the entirety of the 13 minutes plus change that was cut out was, just his baby butt.
So was his penis blurred out?
I don't know, because like I said, the resolution was quite low, and it would have been a baby penis.
So in my version, it was like specifically blurred out.
Oh, okay, no, yeah, so no, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was like somebody did the blur. Okay, so that's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to ask me?
No, there's nothing else I can immediately think of where I'm like, oh, that would have been cut out. Although obviously there must have been some stuff.
Okay.
Do you actually? So presumably you don't see him get torn in half, though.
No, you don't see it, but obviously
Okay.
you see the aftermath.
Okay, because you actually see him get physically torn in, like, and there's like blood and guts and everything, so that wouldn't make sense. That wouldn't be in there. Okay.
Yeah. No. It's a close-up shot when that happens. So you just see half of him. And yeah, then you can hear the sound, but you don't actually see it. Let's talk about the movie then. And again, we're going to try and see if what you saw was the same as me. So obviously, the movie starts with Wade Wilson. He fails to kill one of his targets on his anniversary with his girlfriend Vanessa. That night, after the pair decide to start a family, the target tracks Wade down and kills Vanessa. Wade then kills him in revenge. Okay. So you don't have any Fred Savage scenes, do you?
No.
So
none.
what did you think of the start then?
So the start, it's interesting because for me, the way it starts is he's trying to kill himself, and then it cuts back to why he's trying to kill himself, which is, I will say, not a completely necessary editing decision, but I guess the reason they do it is because it starts on a more exciting thing. I don't know if that's true, but yeah, basically he's laying on a canister of gasoline or whatever, or loads of things, and he's like smoking a cigarette, and then he drops it in, and it explodes, and then he's like, I fucking hate something. I can't remember. It's some kind of line he says. I think he says like he hates Wolverine, which seems like a random thing for him to say, but then he's like, oh, I guess you're wondering how I got into this situation. And then it flashes back, and I think it proceeds as usual.
His girlfriend, of course, gets killed, right?
Yes.
There's a term for that, by the way.
Murder.
And I learned, yes, murder. But I learned this, by the way, because, Fred Savage, it cuts to him, and he says, so your girlfriend got fridged. And Deadpool's like, what do you mean fridged? And Fred Savage says, well, that's in a comic book when, the hero's wife or girlfriend dies. And basically, it gives him motivation or sets him down, a path.
Fridged.
Sets him down a path for his character. And basically, the wife or the girlfriend is just used as that and isn't a real person. And they talk about how it's quite a misogynistic trope.
They're really lampshading there, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. So there we go.
She's because in the first one, my memory is she kind of just gets kidnapped. Like, she's a bit of a prop in that one too, if not more of a prop.
Yes. So
boo, Deadpool, you sexist.
So yeah, but they're like, yeah, it is quite sexist. But again, like you say, it's lampshading. You criticize your own movie for using tropes. It's okay. It's that shows the movie is meta and funny and clever, especially in this version. So an early idea was to have the film begin 5 years after the first and explore Deadpool being a father, but the writers quickly decided this was never ever going to work and reworked the idea to explore the character wanting to have a kid but being unable to. And I think that makes more sense, because Deadpool with a kid, like, that just sounds kind of home video releasey.
Yeah, like son of Deadpool.
Yeah, just kind of lame. I don't know. You agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think that's it could work, but again, like, you just have to have like something like his kid gets kidnapped. Like, I don't know. I bet they would have done like a Taken parody. Like, I can imagine like there'd be a moment where he does like like something to do with Taken, or like it would be a line about how like. Well, did they have this line? It's like the line about like how he's just a bad father at some point. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, basically, they might have done something with it that wouldn't have made it home video-y, but I don't think that him having a kid would have added anything, and it would have kind of taken away from the melodrama. Because this Deadpool, it's not for kids. I think that's one thing we can all agree on. One thing we can definitely both agree on is that Deadpool isn't and should not be reworked in order to try to be for kids.
No, that would be awful.
Yes.
So 6 weeks later, Wade is still wallowing in self-hatred, He visits blind Al, where she warns him not to do anything stupid. He rejects this advice and attempts suicide. Yeah, it is interesting because he can't commit suicide, he can't die, etc.
Yeah,
So,
that is interesting, like, as a concept.
yeah, exactly. So, like, you expect characters in this situation, to go through self-pity and depression, but, he can't. The movie just kind of gets that out of the way because it's like, well, the end goal, which is, of course, suicide, well, the potential end goal, well, that can't happen, can it?
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. So, yeah, it's not really about, like, his depression. Like, he kind of gets over it. I mean, there is, like, that whole thing where he gets the collar, and he's like, oh, where were you in the first part of the movie? I could have used you then. And it's like, yeah, I guess it is a good thing that he happened to just not be aware of this collar that would have allowed him to die at the moment when he wanted to die, and he did get over that.
Yeah. So Wade has a vision of Vanessa in the afterlife, but remains alive due to his healing abilities. Colossus brings Wade to the X Mansion to recruit him. Again, there are more jokes about the fact that there are only 2 X-Men in this mansion, as they can't get the rights to the others.
Yes.
Did you like that joke? Because that's what they used that joke in the first movie, and I'm like, there's no real reason to do it again.
Yeah. A lot of these, like, early jokes, I was like, it's like, with the meta stuff, I get that's what it's about. But I think when it's so aggressive, you're kind of just like, okay, yeah, I get it, you're just putting all this stuff out. And yeah, the fact that they had done it before definitely counts against it being, being anything to appreciate there.
Yeah. So, by the way, the writers preferred to use jokes in the film that only certain members of the audience would understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though Reynolds would not allow some to be used if he thought not enough people would enjoy them. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Well done. What a hero.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing, honestly, because I think I explained last time how in the first Deadpool there were some jokes which I'm like, I'm not sure that would work. And specifically, I remember seeing the trailer for Deadpool 2 and thinking, because in the Deadpool 2 trailer he says the line, "Oh, this is like darker than the DC universe." And I remember thinking, would people get that? Would people, who are just like normal people, get, that the DC universe is really dark? And I think the answer is maybe. Like, there's, it's 50-50, honestly. So I don't know. Do you think those jokes are like too specific or not? Yeah.
So there are there's a few jokes which I think are very specific. I mean, even at this point, like the jokes about like him being in the Green Lantern. Like, who even remembers the Green Lantern at this point?
Well, wasn't that a post-credits?
Oh, yeah, it was actually. Fair enough.
That's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, there were I wish I could think of exactly, because I watched this movie with when I watched it on TV, I watched it with my parents. Tell you what, I wish I had been watching the PG-13 version, so that's good. It wasn't awkward at all then. But like there were a few moments where I was like, because you got to bear in mind, I mean, this might shock you, but my mum is not an expert on Deadpool lore or anything like that. Or just wider comic book lore. So a lot of the meta jokes were going over her head. But yeah, I definitely agree. If anything, they probably did too many inaccessible jokes, so they definitely shouldn't have done even more of them.
So interesting fact though, following the proposed acquisition of 21st Century Fox by Disney in December 2017, the film includes several Disney-related jokes. I guess you can do that, obviously, because it's just Ryan Reynolds, speaking into a mic, and then you can get him to say whatever because you can't see his mouth, can you? So you can add these late jokes in, including a running gag about the Disney film Frozen.
Yes, I do remember them mentioning Frozen.
I only saw one gag about it.
I think I'm with you. I only remember one gag. Like, it's the gag about Papa, Can You Hear Me? Is the same as Do You Want to Build a Snowman from Frozen. No, I think there's one point later on where he just sings it to himself. I think it's after, I might be wrong about this, but I think it's after he has a fight with Fire Fist, or like Fire Fist like abandons him because the whole like argument thing. And I think then he like sings Do You Want to Build a Snowman to himself, or maybe to Fire Fist as he's walking away.
Okay. But yeah, I think in general, well, let's ask the question, is it funny? So, this movie, and I think in general, in parts it is, but again, it's just, if you like Ryan Reynolds, like his sense of humour, then okay, go for it. And I guess the first one was kind of like liberating in what it did. So it's like, oh wow, this is fun. And now you see it again, it's like, okay, it's not wearing on me. It just doesn't hit the same. And I don't really find Ryan Reynolds that funny, but I don't find him that annoying like some people do. So it's just kind of like meh,
Yeah, I was very neutral faced for the first half of the film. One of the, like, I don't know why, the first moment that made me laugh, and I don't know if it's that funny, but it still kind of makes me laugh, which is so you know when they're like interviewing for the new team, and there's the guy, and he has both types of diabetes.
Yeah.
And like the joke is he's got no powers at all. And then they're like, okay, welcome aboard. And then Deepinder in the background just goes, fuck! Which I guess maybe, or like, I'm pretty sure he says fuck. Like, I don't know if that happens at all in your version.
No, well, he goes, what?
Okay, that's fun then. Which I guess is, but yeah, basically like, so the thing there is obviously like he wanted to be like a hitman and like he didn't really have any powers and that's like something. So like, the fact, like I like the fact that, you know, he's been like, oh, I can do the accent, right? They do the accent. Oh, I would like to be a hitman, Mr. Deadpool, sir.
They do the accent. When you say they, you mean the Indian
I mean
character.
the guy who has the accent, yeah.
Does the Indian accent, yeah.
But yeah, basically, like I thought like, oh, that was like funny to me because they've kind of been like setting up that he wants to be anything. And then like this guy who's like a complete nothing gets let on board. I was like, haha, very good. And the other thing, this didn't make me laugh as much, but like the line about, Cable's like something about like he's got a tactical utility belt. I was like, I need to use my tactical utility belt. And then I think it's TJ Miller is like, it's a goddamn fanny pack. I don't know why like that made me laugh too because it was like the contrast. Interestingly, I'd say like both those moments, I'd kind of even know one of them involves someone shouting the word fuck. I'd say both those moments.
I didn't even experience that.
I know, yeah. Both those moments I think were kind of subtle in that like they were sort of smaller moments, so obviously like it's just one quick aside line and things like that, and like those both made me laugh. Whereas I think a lot of the other stuff, you could say it insists upon itself. That's something you could say.
I like the Vanisher scene really.
Oh yeah, that was quite good. Yeah, like the whole thing about like
oh, he's the Vanisher. Oh yeah, he might be running late. See, that's good. Like and the subversion. Yeah, very good stuff. But again, I didn't really experience a lot of the like the fucks and the I'm sure there's other swear words, by the way.
Oh, you know, someone says cunt.
Oh,
great. Isn't that crazy? Because like I think it's Cable who says it, not the not the kid who's like, I don't know. I guess the kids from New Zealand. Like I'm sometimes a bit racist with the accents where I can't tell the difference.
Yeah. Well, is Cable from New Zealand?
No, sorry, but I'm saying like I was gonna say like it should have been the kid who's from New Zealand because I know in Australasia they love to say that word all the time.
You can. I believe, you know, if he's from New Zealand, he would prefer his continent to be called Oceania.
Yes, what a racist.
Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, I mean, so you still did have some zany like Deadpool humor, but I guess I missed out on like the, you know, the crazy. Well, I don't know, it's extra crazy when you just swear, but yeah, I think it probably would have been funnier actually if there was swearing because yeah, again, like you take like Ryan Reynolds his you know shtick and you neuter it. I think it's probably worse, right? Again, everything I'm saying is like filtered through the fact that I saw the PG-13 version.
Yeah, I don't think it actually changes that much though, for what it's worth.
Yeah, well, again, you do cut about like 15 minutes, so that does affect things somewhat. But yeah, so recovering at the X Mansion, Wade agrees to join the X-Men because he believes Vanessa would have wanted him to. Is that actually the case? The thing is, I was watching it and Colossus says something about, you know, Wade's heart, and Wade is like, okay, I'll join you guys because, you know, Vanessa said something about my heart. But
yeah, I thought that was a bit like, you know, what's the word? Like contrived or something, or like not really substantiated. Yeah.
Okay, so this was the part of the movie where scenes felt really cut down. Like, what actually happens in this house? Can you tell me in this X mansion? Because I'm interested. Because there was like Colossus at one point is washing his hands with soap, and it's clear like that's his Deadpool's like sperm.
Yes.
But do you actually see him jacking into it or whatever?
You do not see him jacking into it.
What happens then?
Well, I mean, so basically, there's a line later on where Deadpool says something about like being a superhero isn't just about, or I think it says like being a superhero isn't easy. It's not always just about hanging out in a mansion or jacking off into a soap container or soap dispenser, and then you see Colossus like,
that happened in my version.
Okay, so that's it. That's the only like that's the payoff, and like that's the whole thing around the line. Like he's just like, hey, why is there something funny about this soap? And then he sprays it, and then later on, Dave was like, yeah, he jacked onto it.
So there's no thing before that.
There's nothing setting up that there's jizz in the soap dispenser.
Oh wow, that's shit. Okay.
You wanted to see Deadpool jacking off into a soap dispenser?
Yeah. Like, it just seemed kind of random. It's like, oh, that's
I know. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, I would agree with that too, actually.
Yeah. So I thought, there's definitely some more context which I couldn't see, but clearly not. So, can you tell me anything else that happens in the mansion before he goes to save that New Zealand kid Russell?
Well, you know what, Luke? Occasionally, I can bring myself to admit that I don't have like a great memory of recalling scenes perfectly.
Okay, that's fine.
But it is mostly just like like a lot of it is he hangs out in the mansion, he annoys Megasonic Teenage Warhead. There's Yukio, who like I don't know whether there's this thing. It probably is a thing because it's not very offensive at all. Like he's kind of got like a friendship thing with Yukio. Like Yukio really likes him for some reason. And,
yeah,
like, that's the thing. She's like, "Hi, Deadpool."
Yeah, I'm just trying to work. Yeah, that happens in mine. I'm just trying to work out what
like
they
when it's were cut. Yeah,
because it just felt like really shitty. It felt like half-assed, and so I'm like, okay, they must have. But yeah, if you can't recall anything specific,
there's nothing that like stands out.
Yeah, okay. So Deadpool again spends half of the film unmasked, which the writers wanted to do because they want to explore the more emotional scenes. Which again, I just think the writers wrote a different movie to what I saw, honestly, because there wasn't that many emotional scenes, but whatever. Reynolds was reluctant to do this because he found the makeup required to portray an unmasked Deadpool time-consuming and really uncomfortable. Which,
what a nerd.
Yeah, I think shows what a committed actor he is.
This is your baby.
Yeah, so what is he complaining about, How much money did you get paid for this?
Just shut up and dribble.
Yeah, it's a very different context.
That's what I say whenever anyone complains when they do an impressive job.
Okay, so Deadpool, Colossus, and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, which is still a great name. I love that name. Respond to a standoff between authorities and the unstable young mutant Russell Collins at an orphanage owned by the Essex Corporation, labelled a mutant re-education centre. Realising that Russell has been abused by the orphanage staff, Wade kills one of the staff members before being restrained by Colossus, and both Wade and Russell are arrested. So yeah, what did you think of this whole concept of like this mutant re-education center, like obviously abusing these mutants?
So obviously it's like a reference to what's it called? Gay conversion therapy. What's weird about it is I also decided, so I was like, since we were doing Deadpool, I was like, I'll bone up on some of the X-Men movies I haven't seen. So I decided to watch, and there weren't actually that many I hadn't seen, but I decided to watch New Mutants, which was like, I think was that even like the most recent X-Men movie? I think it might have been, obviously until this new one's getting released. But I watched the New Mutants, and that is also about like a very obvious analogy to gay conversion therapy. Like there's actually a bit where a woman's, or like one of the girl who's played by, well, it doesn't matter. Basically, she's talking about how like she went to her priest and told the priest about her mutant powers, and then the priest said that she was a demon and she needed to pray to get rid of the mutant powers. So I don't know, like they really do like their kind of gay mutant comparison. Is also in X-Men 2, where the boy's got a very conservative mum, and she's like, haven't you tried just not being a mutant? So like they've clearly done this whole like gay comparison thing before, so there's not much to be impressed with there thematically.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. But I'm just thinking, well, should this, like, is it possible, like, this thing exists, like, this re-education center, which, surely it shouldn't exist in, like, the X-Men universe, because of
the X-Men being kind of legitimate as superheroes.
Yeah, so, like, Colossus is the guy that is called, and it's like, oh, yeah, Colossus, he's an X-Men at this X-Mansion. And it's like, well, he and the rest of the X-Men should surely be opposed to this, like, center, like, philosophically. Because it's like, yeah, why do we need to re-educate the mutants? Why do we need to do that? So again, the whole concept is weird. That that they come to this center and it's just like, oh yeah, let's just arrest the fucking kid who's been abused, and this re-education center, you can continue doing what you're doing. I just found that really strange. Yeah. That's just really strange, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, because obviously, like, the X-Men are doing like legitimate things in law enforcement, so. Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah, exactly. And Colossus is like, no, don't shoot the guy who was abusing the kids. Okay, fine, but are you going to, like, do something about the guy abusing the kids? Apparently not. Wow. Again, that is lazy writing. Fred Savage calls the movie out for being lazily written at one point. Well, he should have called it out then, And again, Deadpool and obviously this Russell kid get arrested. They are taken to the icebox, an isolated prison for mutant criminals. And yeah, this seems ridiculous, by the way, like these power suppressing collars, because I wanted to get onto this. And
yeah,
it's an absolutely, like, I think, awful plot device, like in this X-Men universe. It would be one of the craziest, like, developments ever, like the X-Men are like muted now, Neutered. I use that word again, neutered. They're neutered. You can't do anything now with just a collar around them. That's a massive thing. And
like this is one of those things, like, you know, like in obviously the original X-Men, they had like these like things about like mutant cures and all that kind of stuff, and it was like a big deal. Like, well, there should have been, like, the fact this is just casually introduced in this universe is ridiculous. Yeah.
And Deadpool, you know, he doesn't even know about it, does he?
No, yeah.
Yeah, and you think this would be massive news, like everyone, especially like a mutant, would know about this. It's so huge. And I'm just wondering, like, this may get into the realm of nitpicks, but I want to bring up, like, what happens if you put it around Colossus? Like, does Colossus lose his, like, metal thing that he's got going on?
Does he become human? Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I wish I would have seen that.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure how it works with, like, if you are non-human, basically. Like, Juggernog is still big, so, yeah, I guess he loses those powers, okay, but he's still a human, right, Juggernog? Colossus is like a metal man, so, like, does he go human again? That would be fun to see. Also, you know, with Deadpool, I think the authorities have to know this. Like, if you give him this collar, it's a death sentence. Yeah. So he's given the death penalty when he's got that collar on. That's what's happened. And the Russell kid, also, he is just a kid. Why is he in this prison with a bunch of like adults? You know. Like,
none of that like the world building, I guess, there makes any sense at all.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The world building doesn't make sense, and it's really poor. And yeah, I was just like, yeah, they've got to do a better job at this. There's just so many things which don't make sense. Like the fact that this re-education center exists, the collars, the fact that this kid goes to this prison with all the other adult mutants. You know, there's surely like a kid prison he can go to. So yeah, it's all really contrived and awful. So Cable storms the icebox and attacks Russell. We haven't talked about Cable yet.
Yes, he's from the future.
Yes. What does this movie, the movie you watched, tell you about Cable? His backstory?
Just that. So basically, Fire Fist killed Cable's family, and Cable is going back in time in order to kill
but
Fire Fist.
When he first shows up, is there anything?
Not that I remember, no.
So this is again where Fred Savage comes in. Basically, you know, Cable comes in. You know, he's gonna get Russell, and then Fred Savage is like, wait, you got Cable? You know, and Deadpool's like, yeah, we got Cable. And then Fred Savage is like, are you going to go into his backstory? And then Fred Savage lists a bunch of things about his backstory, like Cable, you know, where Cable came from, you know, how he got his powers, etc., etc. And he was like, yeah, you're going to go into all of that, aren't you? And Deadpool's just like, yeah, sure. And then it cuts back to the movie. And of course, you know, I'm guessing, yeah, you didn't get that. So that's the thing. This Fred Savage like element in the version I watched, it could actually enhance some of the comedy in the movie, you know, or enhance the movie in general. Because again,
it does seem like a sufficiently different movie that, you know, I want to see like an ultimate cut that somehow manages to marry them, so we get all the Fred Savage interjections and we get to see all the gore.
Well, at the start of the Fred Savage version, there's a long bit about how he just is in a PG-13 movie, so they can't swear. So that wouldn't really work. And also, there's another bit which goes on for quite a while where Fred Savage is saying he wants to fight Matt Damon, but then Deadpool bleeps out every time Fred Savage says fight, so it sounds like he said, "Yeah, I want to fuck Matt Damon instead of fight him."
That's pretty hilarious.
That is hilarious. So again, those elements are like unnecessary, but if you're really going for like the meta angle, you know, which this movie of course is, why not have Fred Savage in these scenes in the first place? You know, well, you know, and pointing out like the poor writing, or pointing out, oh yeah, you're not mentioning Cable's backstory, you know, because again, you could say it's lampshading, of course, but you're already doing it in your movie, so you might as well make a joke out of it. Like, so that's my point of view. It's like, if your movie is poorly written, well, you shouldn't write your movie poorly, but okay, make a joke out of it if you have to. So yeah.
Although to be fair, I don't know if it's like necessarily like that bad that Cable doesn't have that much of a backstory, because you know, whatever. But yeah,
it's not bad, but isn't it kind of shit? He just shows up.
Yeah, that's true. It is. Yeah, he's not like a compelling villain.
No, exactly. And so if you make a joke about the fact that he is compelling, but the movie doesn't portray him, again, it's in the style of the Deadpool movies. So yeah, that's why I'm okay with it, and maybe they should have added it into the actual R-rated version. But anyway, so Wade has another vision, of Vanessa once he falls in the ice lake, in which she convinces him to help Russell. So I want to get into how the producers describe this movie. So Deadpool focuses on an existential crisis and a deeply personal cause for the character Deadpool, of course. Yeah, Deadpool 2 focuses on this. The writers felt that the sequel was totally similar to the first film, but wanted to explore a different theme by focusing on a group of individuals, the X-Force, and their need for family, with Reynolds explaining that the first movie is a love story masquerading as a comic book movie, and this one is kind of a family film masquerading as a comic book film again.
Yes.
Now, we're going to get into the X-Force now, but how long are the X-Force in your movie for?
They're not in there for that long, but so essentially they get recruited and then there's a scene of them on an aeroplane before they make a drop.
Yes.
And then they all die
Yes.
comedically or most of them die comedically as they're making a landing.
Yes. So is this a family film masquerading as a comic book film?
Yeah, I'm seeing what you're saying, yeah, because like the whole thing is you don't really find much of a family. Or certainly at least they're not his family. I guess you could say maybe Colossus is kind of like a father figure to him.
Yeah, kind of. But I was just reading that, I'm like, no. Like, again, the writers wrote a different movie to what I saw, and you saw as well. Like, they wanted to make this like a deeper emotional journey, and it's like, they didn't really go for it, you know. Again, like the X-Force, they just die, right from the word go. And yeah, I like that because...
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
It is funny. It's like a twist. It's a nice subversion. And Suicide Squad, or The Suicide Squad, did that a few years later, didn't they?
Yeah, this film parachuted to the ground so Suicide Squad could walk.
Yeah. Well, it's at the start. Have you seen The Suicide Squad?
I haven't seen The Suicide Squad yet. You know what? Interestingly, I said like, Deadpool. Like I've been catching up on some mutant films I haven't seen, X-Men films for Deadpool. I was planning on in the run up to watching Catwoman, which is of course very much part of the DC universe, catching up on some DC films I haven't seen. So, but fortunately it happens at the beginning, so I wouldn't regard it as a spoiler. But I think I had heard that loads of people just get wasted in that movie very unceremoniously.
Yeah, right at the start, yeah. And of course, this is what kind of happens in this movie, but I guess the Suicide Squad took it to another level, you could say. But yeah, so what is your favourite of the superheroes? Do you like Peter?
So Peter's the guy with no powers at all?
Yeah.
No, yeah, so I don't really have a take on Peter, although I do like the fact he gets saved at the end. Like, that's fun. Because obviously, like, I guess you know about that, right? When he's like traveling through time and he like saves Peter's life.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's just, I quite like the guy who got shredded in the leaf shredder or whatever it is, the wood chipper, sorry, because that's quite a crazy way of going.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that as a death. I also like Terry Crews because I think Terry Crews is just a very funny guy, and I've also read his autobiography.
Did you like him in Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
You know what? I watched some of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I didn't really get into it. So I guess that's not a glowing endorsement of Terry Crews, considering that's one of his primary things he's done.
Well, that's a good thing, because, of course, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is police propaganda.
Yeah. Well, I was too busy watching Jack Ryan, or whatever it's called. Jack Reacher, Jack Ryan.
Well, of course, he's in White Chicks as well.
Yeah, which is also cop propaganda.
Yeah. Oh my god, so much cop propaganda. So while a fight with Cable distracts them, Russell frees fellow inmate Juggernog, who agrees to help.
Okay, Luke, sorry, I'm interrupting you. I just want to know, it seems like every single time you're saying Juggernog.
Yeah, I am.
And it's Juggernaut.
No, it's Juggernog.
Where does that, what does that come from? Is that like, is that from like Call of Duty Zombies?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Have you not played that?
I have played that, and like that's kind of, like in my head I was like, isn't that the thing from Call of Duty Zombies? Yeah. Is that the thing, I'm going to see if I remember, is that the thing that just gives you like extra power?
Yeah, extra health. You need Juggernog.
Oh, because it's like eggnog, I see.
Yeah. So there you go. Well, anyway, Juggernaut, but Juggernog just sounds better. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I feel like Naut is quite a posh. It's quite a posh vowel sound, so it just wouldn't sound good coming from you because of your thick northwestern accent.
Juggernaut.
Yeah, that's it. That's good.
So Juggernaut agrees to kill the abusive orphanage headmaster. I don't know why, like, because this fat kid gave him food, which, is kind of inspirational, I guess.
Yeah, I preferred in X-Men 3 when it's like, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. That's much better.
That's better. That's funnier. He should have said that in this movie.
Yeah, I was like actually surprised that like they didn't, because I know like Juggernaut is considered like in because obviously X-Men 3 is like quite a bad movie generally considered. Like I'm surprised they didn't do any references to X-Men 3 at all.
Yeah, and
Juggernaut being there.
And of course, Deadpool is ripped in half, and I kind of saw it when he was ripped in half, like I said. But yeah, again, like the action scenes are just kind of messed up again. Especially the prison break scene. That was awful. When Cable tries to kill Russell in the prison. Because
I don't remember any of the action scenes looking particularly bad myself.
Yeah, well, it was like because Wade Wilson's mask is off. Deadpool's mask is off, so and you can like hear him. He's swearing in the movie, I know, but it's ad-libbed to be like, "Come on, let's get out of here." That's so the prison break scene was bad. This scene again, it just like there was some weird cuts, but whatever. It just doesn't have the same source. I think that's for sure. And,
yes.
So Wade, of course, recovers, and Cable offers to work with him to stop Russell from killing the headmaster, as he has travelled back in time to stop him, but can't travel back in time to when he was a baby, as he can't control his time travel device. To when Russell was a baby, of course. And this is when Fred Savage pops up and goes, "Lazy Rising," you know. So there you go, some good lamp shading there again. Which I don't know, would that have made the movie better if Fred Savage just because I'm kind of advocating for yes, you know, in these instances.
I'm always a little bit like I'm not like a massive lamp shading fan. I think it can be. It can, I think, elevate something, but it's still kind of annoying.
It does fit in with the style of the movie, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
you
yes.
know, yeah, not all, but, you know, for Deadpool movies, perhaps. So Russell, of course, will become a serial killer who slaughters Cable's family. Wade accepts, obviously, you know, on the condition that Cable gives him a chance to talk to Russell. Do you like the gag with Deadpool having small legs? That's what I thought, but we already discussed that.
Yeah. I think it's fine. You know, obviously, I know he's got like a tiny in the original one. Like he has like a joke about. I remember he gets his hand chopped off and he's growing it back, and he has a baby hand, and then he says he's going to masturbate, and he says, "I bet it will feel huge in this hand," which is, you know, funny, but like obviously, so they kind of already did the joke again. They're repeating themselves. I'm not standing for it.
I know, right? It's fucking hacky stuff here. And yeah, I kind of, in terms of the plot, again, the plot doesn't really matter that much, but I kind of like the twist that, Cable wants to team up with them. Rather than, you know, just go against them. Again, these Deadpool movies kind of like subvert things to a certain degree, more than like your regular like schlocky superhero movies. I don't know. I just felt like that was the case. I don't know if you agree or not.
Yeah, you know, I think it's good when I mean, in a way, like we've kind of razzed on Cable, but I suppose he does achieve that big thing that everyone wants a villain to be, which is kind of sympathetic. You know, he's not like an evil guy. He's just, from his perspective, he's going back in time and killing baby Hitler. Yeah. And like, you know, it's actually in some ways that's a less stupid motivation than Thanos.
Well, fat teenage Hitler.
That's it. Fat teenage Hitler. Yeah.
Sounds like a great sitcom.
So it's my indie band name.
So
we're Fat Teenage Hitler.
Honestly, that'd be a great name. I kind of just want to start a band to call ourselves Fat Teenage Hitler. Anyway, at the orphanage, they are overpowered by Juggernaut, while Russell pursues the headmaster. Colossus, having initially refused to help due to Wade's murderous ways, arrives to distract Juggernaut. And we have again a big CGI fight again. Kind of lamp shading, you know, but it is what it is. I guess that's the character arc for Deadpool. It's like, no, he's not a murderer anymore, you know. It's just murder begets murder, basically. That's the lesson he has to learn. Even though I'm not exactly sure where he learns it.
And also, I mean, like at the same time, like Dupinder just comes in and kills the guy anyway, so it's kind of like one of the situations where it's like you're not really learning the lesson if like the person ends up getting karmically killed by dying anyway, because it's like...
But Dupinder's Indian, though.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. I often think that about your favourite show, Supernatural. Well, like, because... Okay, let's proceed.
Okay, so... Wade fails to placate Russell, forcing Cable to shoot at Russell. Wade leaps in front of the bullet while wearing the icebox collar and dies, reuniting with Vanessa in the afterlife. So, yeah, the death takes a while, doesn't it?
Yes, so that's the thing. I remember this feeling like very drawn out, and especially like when you're, you know, everyone knows that in a way, no matter how good a movie is, when you get to the end of it, there's always part of you that's like thinking, "Come on, end." This is the problem with Return of the King, right? Yeah, like with all those drawn out endings.
That was fine. We liked that movie.
I hated it.
So again, Deadpool can be with Vanessa because he knows what it means to sacrifice now. And he wasn't ready to do that before, even though he did sacrifice before. Like, he's against murder, even though he already was. Maybe he just needed to prove it to himself. Again, but I don't know where in his character arc he was like, no, I'm against murder now. But whatever. Did it make you cry like Fred Savage? Fred Savage cried basically when Vanessa and Wade Wilson, reunited.
Okay, so like I liked the line. I did like the line where he said, "Is this heaven?" And she said, "It is now."
Okay.
It didn't make me cry, but I liked it. I found it to be, some might say, emotionally resonant.
Okay, that's good. I'm sure Fred Savage felt the same, but just lacked the vocabulary to say it. So, so his sacrifice, of course, dissuades Russell from killing the headmaster and saves Cable's family. And so Cable uses the last charge reserved for his return to walk back several minutes, strapping Vanessa's token in front of Wade's heart. So he survives the bullet. Does this make sense? Is this something that Cable would do? Go on.
I don't know. I will say, like, I thought it was kind of like, it was kind of clever, like, in a way, I guess, like, maybe satisfying or something. Like, especially as far as, like, reasons to resurrect a main character. It wasn't that stupid, so I was okay with it. In terms of, like, his characterization, I guess, I mean, as you've said, he's not necessarily a bad guy, and I suppose he'd be feeling pretty happy about the fact that he's just found out his wife and kid is alive. Yeah,
but also, would Russell be persuaded to change paths? That's another thing. You're okay with Cable, what he does. Does it make sense that Russell's like, yeah, okay, fine, I'm not going to kill this guy who was being a paedophile?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. It's a bit difficult. I mean, I suppose the argument would be, because you could be like, well, does someone really go from being like a killer to not a killer, just like that? But I suppose you could say, oh, by the way, side note, they kill a lot of people on their way to intercept Russell. Like, I just thought that needed to be mentioned. Like, they kill a lot of the members of staff at the hospital, which I thought was kind of dumb. Because it's like, well, so they're killing plenty of people. But anyway, like Russell, like, I guess, like, the logic would be that he really didn't exactly want to kill him. He was just like in a, like, you got to psych yourself up. Like, so he's not like a full on psychopath yet. So he's still at that point where you have to psych yourself up to kill someone. So once that psyching up was broken, and he wasn't in the mood for it anymore, he was just like, oh, I can't do it.
Okay, that's a good point. That's good. I like that. You've convinced me, Michael.
Oh, good.
You've won me over. You've charmed me.
I am the main defender of this film.
Okay, so Cable then decides to stay in the present for a while to help improve the world, knowing that his family will be safe. Afterward, the headmaster is run over by Deepinder. But he's the comic relief character. He's Indian, so it's okay. And we all know that Indians are bad drivers.
That is true, yeah. So, like, they're allowed to get away with it.
Yeah. So, and then, of course, the movie ends, but in the mid-credit sequence, Negasonic and her girlfriend Yukio, sounds so much like Yu-Gi-Oh, repair Cable's time-traveling device for Wade. He uses it to save the lives of Vanessa, an X-Force member Peter, as well as kill an alternate version of Wade Wilson and Ryan Reynolds after he finishes reading the screenplay for Green Lantern. Did you like that joke?
Yeah, he says you're welcome, Canada, which I don't really get. Like is it the joke that like everyone makes fun of Ryan Reynolds, or is it like the joke that Ryan Reynolds like embarrasses Canada?
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, again, like, it makes sense. They like to make jokes about Ryan Reynolds' career. Obviously, as I kind of already hinted at, it's one of those jokes which people like have already forgotten about the Green Lantern movie. So
wow, unbelievable. Anyway, let's conclude. You go first, Michael.
So essentially, like I kind of said at the beginning, for me this movie was sort of a movie of two halves. The first half, I found it annoying, and the like action and stuff just wasn't that great. As it went on, and especially after the X-Force got introduced, even though they weren't there for that long, I think it got more exciting. But I suppose actually I said it's two halves. It's really just a movie that kind of peaked in the middle and then kind of tapered off negatively at both ends. Having said that, I'm going to kind of have a bit of a middling score, but this is kind of a better version of a middling score because, of course, a film could get a middling score just by being boring and there's nothing to say about it one way or the other. This gets the better result of being, there's some stuff I really like, but there is a lot of stuff that I either find like just unappealing or even actively annoying. So I'm going to give it a low 6, which, like I say, is a pretty middling score, but a middling score for a kind of good reason, which is at least the film isn't just nothing.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 10. And I think maybe I would have given it like a 5.5 if it wasn't watered down. But yeah, obviously this movie is, not as impressive as the first movie. It can't really be. And yeah, the emotional, I guess, roller coaster, well, not really, just the character arc that the writers were trying to implement by looking at, what they said about the movie on Wikipedia. Yeah, it's clear that that wasn't in the film, really. And yeah, it wasn't awful. It could have been good if I'd seen the R-rated version. And yeah, again, if you really like Ryan Reynolds' comedy, well, yeah, you're going to love this movie, and you're probably going to love Deadpool and Wolverine. And that's the thing. I'm thinking about, would I go and see Deadpool and Wolverine? I'm like, well, I'm kind of not really interested in it because I know what it's just going to be like a bunch of like dick jokes and a bunch of swearing and like meta jokes, and it's like that's just not that interesting. And that's what I feel about this movie. It's just not that interesting in general. Anyway, Michael, let's predict what we are going to.
What the movie's you just said is not going to be interesting. Let's predict what it's going to get.
Yeah, what it's going to get on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
So you are winning by 16, by the way.
Okay.
And we only have 5. No, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. We only have 4 more guesses until the end of the year. Yeah. So
now, I would like to ask a clarifying question because I like to know these things. Am I allowed to find out what Deadpool 2 got on Rotten Tomatoes, or is there a risk that I could see the Deadpool 3 early? Okay, good.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Well,
okay.
and I already told you as well. So
did you?
Yeah. So you're not allowed to look at.
That's fine. I'm fine with that. Okay.
Okay. Right. 3, 2, 1.
68.
75. Oh, 68 for you. 75 for me. Okay, that is interesting. So you think it's going to be slightly worse? I think it's going to be slightly worse than me.
I was going to go for 70, so I'm glad that I was like 70. It's always boring going for a round number, so I'll drop it down by 2.
Because it's a Deadpool movie. You should have gone for 69. You know?
Oh, that's really stupid. Yeah, I regret everything.
Anyway, what are we looking at next week?
Next week we are looking at a very, very similar movie, Shrek 2. Well, it's another sequel as well, or another second installment, Shrek 2.
Yeah.
We're doing that, of course, to celebrate the release of Shrek 5. They've got a really quick production schedule there.
Yes. So join us for Shrek 2 next time. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke, and thanks for listening to our Deadpool 2 review. And maybe go and see Deadpool and Wolverine, maybe go and see it because, it's going to be the highest grossing movie of all time, apparently.
Yes.
So you want to get in on that. Anyway, goodbye.
Goodbye.